Greetings, family. It's Al Kumar coming to you from the foothills of Mount Meru in Arusha, Tanzania. And I just got to speak out about some things that I've been hearing mulling around in the airways out there. I got a bone to pick with you guys out there that are screaming about this whole conflict that's currently kicked into another gear because it's been going on for quite some time now in the Democratic Republic of Congo, the DRC, as it relates to Rwanda, its neighbor. I'm hearing a lot of freak DRC. Oh, Rwanda's president Paul Kagame is a dictator, and shame on him. And he's over there off in the Congolese, etc., etc., etc. Okay, let me just say this. Okay, it's not even been a good 30 days since I've left that region, Rwanda, right? And I spent some time there. And any of you who know me a little bit know that I'm a history buff, right? So wherever I am, I'm looking for the gory details as it relates to our history, as the colonial part of our history. So there's a lot of things that's being said out there right now that's just flat out inaccurate. So I just wanted to come on here and just share a bit of what I know to be fact about Rwanda and the DRC and what's currently taking place. A little bit of history. This conflict has been going on, family, for a while now, quite some time. It reached its highest height 30 years ago during the Holocaust, the Rwanda genocide that took place in Rwanda back in 1994, when over 1 million, I repeat, 1 million Rwandans were offed by their blood brothers, their neighbors, their best friends. It was wild. But what I'm not hearing is the questioning behind how all this took place. How did it even begin? How did it start? Why? Okay, so Belgium and Germany ruled Rwanda together cohesively at one time. Believe it or not, that's what they do far greater than we do, is they stick together, and especially when it comes to going against us. And during that time in history, they did what they normally do, which is use divide and conquer tactics, right? So there was two main tribes, well, actually three main tribes in Rwanda at that time: the Hutus, the Tutsis, and the Twa, right? You don't hear much about the Twa. They were a small subsection, but the main tribes were the Tutsis and the Hutus. Okay, and so what happened was the Europeans who came to conquer took a liking to one side over the other, right? So they took a liking to the Tutsis, and so they began, like the serpent, whispering in their ear about things against their brother. Oh, you know, your nose is more broader, so that makes you smarter than the Hutus. Or, oh, your IQ is greater than the Hutus, so you're more advanced than them. You're better at business. You live better than them. They're in the slums and you're better than them. So, and so what happened was this rift started to occur between the two tribes. And this rift got a lot wider when the Tutsis began getting favor in government. So they were taking more positions at the behest of these European colonizers, And so they were in a higher position as it relates to class and status. And so naturally so, their brothers, the Hutus, started to take offense to this. This is like, well, wait a minute, what about us? Y'all getting all these special preferential treatments, privilege, right? And we over here struggling, and y'all saying, y'all not even looking out for us. So hence the collision. So now they are started battling out, as we do, back and forth with words, and words took on a whole nother process. And then people got so frustrated, they took to the streets. And then when that didn't work, so hence now they start picking up weapons and fighting against one another. But we never, ever, ever, ever hear the side of how these European colonizers created all this rift, as they always do everywhere they go on the planet. And we all, for some odd reason, we want to conveniently forget about history in every facet of our history and what always takes place. And so here we are again today, current time, and this battle between these two neighboring tribes in Rwanda was squashed by Kagame and his crew, his military might. They came in, they overthrew, right? And they squashed the beef. Now that came with some circumstances and consequences. So I hear some people say things like, oh, they don't have their freedoms in Rwanda like other countries, and they're strict and laws and rules and guidelines and stuff. You have to remember, in our lifetime, I'm 51 years old, 30 years ago, this genocide took place, right? So the residue of that is still remains. And so in order to quell any of the fire to kickstart back up again, they have implemented a lot of different rules and guidelines in that country that every citizen have to abide by. You can't even speak the tribal names, right? Because they believe now that they're all one nation, and there's never going to be, because they understand what happens when they allow people to come in and rip them apart, right? So they don't allow that. They cleaned up the whole country, right? That was once a war zone. Now it's a beautiful country, right? That has all these advancements, and they clean the streets, the community all come together as one and help clean and keep the nation clean. It's almost like amazing how they were able to shift the narrative in that country in such a short period of time. It should be studied. He filled his parliament with women. I thought it was 50%, but I was told recently that now 7 out of 10 of the government officials in Rwanda are women. That's wisdom, family. We can go into why that is later, but he's done a lot of things that are just outside of your standard and your norm when it comes to any society. Here's what I would like for you guys to pay close attention to. Do you ever recognize that whenever some stuff like this kick off, you only hear one side of the story? When you hear some stuff kick off in Russia versus Ukraine, you don't ever hear them put on Russia or on Putin for him to explain his side, right? So you don't never hear both sides of the story when it comes to corporate owned media. And we gotta pay attention and learn how to critically think for ourselves so we can understand why, asking questions, why that is. Where is the DRC's president? Why aren't we hearing from him? These are questions you should ask yourself. This man, Kagame, is out there screaming to the mountaintops as to what's currently going on. He's not hiding from the press. He's not giving statements and not answering questions. He is straight up in your face sharing with you why things are going the way they are going, but we don't listen, right? We don't listen. But I want to understand why. Okay, so if the DRC is the victims in all of this, why are we hearing from the president? So my point is that we allow our somebody else to paint the narrative on our behalf, and we just run with that. And we go with that. And we just repeat the rhetoric that we hear our enemies spew. And so we take on what they want us to know about what's going on, whether it's accurate or not. Whatever they spew out, we take that and we run with it and we spread it across airways and we actually help them. Do you know that a lot of the people that are being displaced because of the fighting right now are are going to Rwanda? Ask yourself. So if Rwanda is the big bad wolf, why are the people in Congo fleeing to Rwanda, over the borders to Rwanda and Uganda? We have to learn to critically think, family, for ourselves, and we have to learn to close our mouths when we really don't know what's going on and not be so quick to just jump on a bandwagon just because we don't want to feel left out. We don't want to feel left out of the gossip. Family, please stop listening to Google. All these news stations that's coming out of the West that's going to tell you about what's going on. They are not working for the best benefit of African people, period. They're not. And so what you're doing is you're listening to your enemies give you a narrative on your own brother and sister. Form your own conclusions by hearing all sides out, listening to everything from both sides. Learn from the people on the ground. Listen to the president and him explain why he's pushing back against the borders. And then when you do some deeper diving, researching in the UN, the United Nations, and ask yourself that why have they been over in the DRC for 20 years now? I repeat, 20 years now. And the conflict is just getting worse. If you are a peacekeeping mission, you have all this power to change things. It's been 20 years. Why are you still in that nation, first of all? And second of all, you're not helping any because clearly the conflict is getting worse. So what are you really doing there? Right? So we have to ask these questions. I don't even think it was pulled down as quick as it was pulled up. But I remember a couple of years ago stumbling across some video footage that some young folks in the Congo, a UN truck, one of their big convoy trucks, were coming out of the mining district over there in Congo, and it overturned and toppled. And lo and behold, what came fumbling out? Gold bars, family. Gold bars inside of the UN truck. Okay, this is not just hearsay and rumor. This is actually taking place. They had a lot of footage on TikTok, by the way. That's a whole nother subject for another day as to why they want why they want TikTok shut down, because they over there spilling all the beans. But anyway, you can't find that information nowhere. They quickly snatched and took that off. So again, know your enemies. Know your natural born enemies that have been the same enemies for thousands of years. For some reason, we want to conveniently forget about them, right? And fight one another and blame one another. And the elephant in the room just sits there comfortably while we warring it out between one another. We gotta get wise, family. We gotta stop getting hoodwinked and played by these monsters. Who owns the mining companies in the DRC? I keep hearing, oh, they were using Rwanda's helping the West. Rob, who owns the mining companies in the DRC? Take a moment of your time and go and look up like the top 10 mining companies in the DRC, and then come back. Let's have a discussion. Okay, family, we have got to get our heads out of the sand. The lack of information and the knowledge, and we're just so comfortable with allowing other people to put narratives in our minds and running with it and fighting against our own people. So I just want to say, be careful. Be careful out there who you gunning for and who you running with. Because you might think that you out there looking to shed some light on an ancient old situation and don't even understand the backstory. So get the backstory, family. And so you'll understand what's really going on out here and who's really with you and who's really against you. The ancient scripture says, my son, my daughter, get knowledge, get wisdom, for these are the principal things. But in all thine getting, seek understanding. Take care of each other out there, family. Peace.